Welcome home, Spartan Nation. Today I am joined by our homecoming tour guys, otherwise known as David Proudfoot and Jan Lombardi, and they are joining me to give you a virtual tour of our beautiful campus.
Thanks, Katie, for that introduction. My name is Dave Proudfoot. I graduated from the university in 1973. My sidekick today is
Jan Lombardi, class of 1972.
We're going to start the tour right out in front of the Welcome Center. The Welcome Center is named the Peter and Susan Smith Welcome Center. Peter was vice president of enrollment management as well as university relations. And he and his late wife devoted their lives to the University of Dubuque, so it's very appropriate that the university named this building after Peter and Susan. So this facility has tremendous resources for prospective students as they first come into the university campus, as well as alumni, parents, and grandparents. Contained within the first floor of the Welcome Center is 6 classrooms, as well as a lecture hall and a multicultural center. The multicultural center allows for students with different cultural backgrounds to share those experiences and learn from each other's cultures. So it also has a multimedia center in there, and on the second floor is the Office of Development and also Alumni Engagement. So when you first visit the campus, you'll want to stop in this building and go up to the second floor for our folks up in the Development Office and Alumni Engagement, where they can direct you to whom you want to see or what building you want to see. So let's go in and take a look at this facility. So I'm standing in the Welcome Center on the second floor, and I'm standing right outside the Office for Advancement. So when you're visiting campus, maybe for the first time as a prospective student, or you've come back and you're an alumnus of this institution, and this should be the first spot that you actually stop at. But they'll be able to direct you to whomever you want to see or whatever buildings you want to see. And we're walking toward the Myers Center here, and the Charles and Ramona Myers Center was completed in 2006. It was as a result of an $8 million contribution by Charles and Ramona Myers. Mr. Myers was in the freezer insulation business, and he was involved in not only this building, the financing of this building, but also the library expansions that Jan will talk about a little later on. So this building houses the Office of the President. The Wentz-Setter Character Initiative is also located in here. The Business Department is also here. The Registrar's Office is also in this facility, as well as the graduate programs are also in this facility. If you look down from our vantage point right here on the second floor, that's called Stefan's Hall. It's named after our original building on campus, and we'll talk at length about Stefan's Hall when we get to that location. But I think you'll find that throughout this tour, the university recognizes the contributions of our original building or the architecture of our original building on campus, Stefan's Hall. And this is just one example of that. Behind me is Atrothen Hall. Atrothen Hall was completed in 1963, renovated in 2005, and there'll be new brickwork and fascia on this facility as we conclude the summer of 2022. Atrothen Hall was named after Anna Atrothen, who was professor of English from 1923 to 1960. It was built with U.S. government funds, and it was built as a women's dormitory and remains so today. The difference is today it's also co-ed. So on one end of the building are men, and on the other end of the building are women. Severance Hall was completed in 1912. Cornelius Steffens, who was president of the university at that time, was quite a fundraiser. And he contacted a Cleveland philanthropist named Louis Severance, not just once, but several times. Because maybe at one time he got $25,000 and then he got another $50,000, but he wanted the entire amount to build Severance Hall. And when completed, this building cost $75,000. When it was originally built and named after Louis Severance, the Cleveland philanthropist, it was originally a seminary men's dormitory. Through the years, it's been a seminary men's dormitory, an underclass men's dormitory. It's also been a women's dormitory. In 1982, it became an administration building. Notice as you look at this building that there are entrances on either side of the lounge. Those were added, we believe, in the 1980s. Originally, the only entrance was in the back of Severance Hall, and you entered right into the lounge. And at that point, when you were entering into the lounge and you wanted to speak with somebody or someone to come down and greet you, you actually had to call them from the lounge and have them come down and meet you there. Access to the rooms was very limited during those years. So we're coming down the hallway here. Let's take a look at what once was a dorm room. This room is really pretty small. It's now a faculty office. The rooms were of various sizes here on campus in Severance Hall. Some of them could accommodate 2 people. A lot of them were so small that only 1 student could be in them. This building is slated for renovation, we believe, in 2022, just as is the case with what we already covered in Atrothen, and as Jan will talk about when we get to Vanvleet, the renovation of that particular facility. The current administration really does a good job of maintaining all of their facilities here. And if you take a look at the window right here, you can see this is pretty old. We believe this was a window from 1912. So there is an exterior window that's put on there so that there could be screening. But when this renovation takes place, it'll not only be plumbing, electric, but it's also going to be windows. Basically, the building is going to retain all of its great features, but it's going to be modernized. Okay, to tell us a little bit more about the aviation program, Mary Beth Tice is out at the Flight Center. Mary Beth, tell us what you know about the Flight Center.
Welcome to the University of Dubuque Bapka Aviation Flight Center, one of the largest departments on the University of Dubuque campus, home to over 300 students, 25 plus aircraft. Dedicated in 2019, the building is home to many offices, computer labs, classrooms, and more importantly to our students, simulators. Simulation offers our students a chance to fly at a much lower cost than getting into the aircraft. The opportunities for our students are amazing. The airline industry is looking at being several 100,000 pilots short over the course of the next 10 years. Our students that graduate from this program can be picked up by the airlines or do flight instruction for us to build their hours to fly commercially.
Behind me is Peters Commons. Peters Commons was a gift from Frank Peters, who was a St. Louis shoe manufacturer, and it originally housed the dining hall, the music department, and at one point the campus radio station.
Hey Jan, you remember? There was just stairways here.
Right.
To get up to Peters Commons. The university has nicely created a ramp for those people that have maybe some handicaps to get into Peters Commons. So just one of the changes as we look at what's happened to Peters Commons. What happened over here? I don't remember what was here. Do you remember, Jan?
There used to be a cloakroom over here, which most people weren't using. It was just it was called a cloakroom, but it was just an empty spot that was just not used at the time, and now it's part of the Bapka bookstore. And the dining hall hasn't changed all that much since the time we were here. The lights are different.
The lights are different, yeah.
The stage is still up there.
Yeah. The whole dining experience right here is in the same spot.
Right.
But it's just modernized at this point since they modernized the building.
Right.
But boy,
These
beautiful beams and the rafters, just tremendous. So not a lot really has changed. The dining area is still off to the east of the building. It's pretty similar.
Tables up there where that raised area is.
Yeah, raised area.
Yeah, but other than that, it looks pretty much the same with the same ceiling. And,
yeah,
it's nice.
I mean, this is just probably one of the most beautiful spots on campus as far as indoor facilities. Just the architecture was well planned out. If you take a look at, there was, I believe it was a lounge up there, wasn't it?
Yep.
I'll show you in a minute, but I believe there was a lounge up there on that balcony, but it looks almost exactly the same as it did back.
Where all the serving trays are, that's where they were before.
Back in the day. Is your homecoming, is it 75 years since you graduated, or is it 100? I'm not sure.
Might be 100, I'm not sure.
Might be 100?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, right now we're in the basement of Peters Commons, right across from where the student union used to be. And in this room, which used to be a lounge, is the food co-op. And here to explain the program is Jacqueline Escada.
Welcome to our food share co-op here at University of Dubuque, located in the lower level of Peters Commons, or what you may remember as the Student Union. The food share co-op is a service that's provided to all members of the UD community to combat food insecurity. Some national statistics estimate that college students experience food insecurity at a rate of 33 to 48%, which is a huge portion of the population. We never want students here at UD to have to choose between paying their tuition, getting their books, and eating. Obviously, it's very important for their success that their nutritional needs are met. And so we provide this service 16 hours a week where they can come in and shop for groceries, ranging anywhere from snacks like granola bars and fruit snacks, all the way up to meat products, produce, dairy, anything that they might need to supplement their meals. Food Share Co-op really focuses on a community mentality. The idea here is that sometimes we have more than we need and we can give, and sometimes we need and we take. And so we do staff the space with student volunteers, and anyone's welcome to come in and help themselves to whatever it is they need. We don't require any kind of background checks or income. We really want to create a positive, dignified shopping experience for folks who might need to use the service.
And across from the food co-op is where the student union used to be. This was put in during the renovation of Peters Commons in 1963, and it was a student union up until 2015 when it moved to the South Campus. For those of you who were here at the time, remember this was all a big open area. Later on they put a raised floor in, and over to my left was a snack bar where you could get various food items, cherry Cokes, great stuff. In the corner was a jukebox. We used to have dances down here on the weekends. So currently where the student union used to be is the Center for Advising and Vocation. And they prepare students for careers, helping them prepare for example, job interviews. There's actually clothing that students can get to help them look their best when they are interviewing. And it's a program that's been here since 2015 when this area was remodeled from the student union. And to tell us a little bit more about the center is Ellen Carr.
Right. Welcome to the Center for Advising and Vocation, formerly the Student Union. We're on the ground floor of Peters Commons. So this area has definitely undergone a change, and we currently serve students first year until graduation in their career exploration process. We want to help them find meaningful ways to connect what they're learning in the classroom, their involvement on campus, part-time jobs and internships, and how that is going to connect to their future employment opportunities. We work with students with resumes, cover letters, applying for jobs, mock interviews, and networking with employers to really help them be ready for what's going to come after college. We help students look their best for interviews or any other kind of professional opportunities where they're going to be exposed to employers. We can help clothe them with professional clothing from our Success Shop that we receive donations from alumni, faculty, staff, community members, so students are making a great first impression and can really feel confident when they're meeting those employers. We set them up with headshots that they can use on their LinkedIn profiles, and really helping to develop that professional persona that they're going to take with them and carry them into that workforce, into life after college. We're really here to help all students be successful and find that meaningful career after college.
Behind me is the former Goldthorpe Science Center, which is now the University Science Center. The building was dedicated in 1960. It was a gift from Dr. and Mrs. Goldthorpe. Dr. Goldthorpe was a very successful Chicago dentist who practiced for over 50 years. After the couple retired, his wife engaged in benevolent causes and gave money to the university to build this building. So currently it houses the nursing program as well as other sciences. So right now let's take a walk inside and take a look around.
Kind of different. The entrance used to be right here, as opposed to where we just walked in and where Jan was previously talking.
And this is where a lot of the science classes were held, and also the Zucker Auditorium, which was in the basement. On the weekends, they used to show movies, which cost $0.25 at that time.
What was it, like 25 cents, right?
Yep.
It was Friday night, and there was a guy, Irv Cadet. I remember his name specifically because he was a real movie buff. And he got almost first-run movies to show. And when I first came on campus, it was maybe half full, but after Irv took over, you could hardly find a seat in the auditorium to watch some of those movies.
And he had, very new movies. I don't know how he found them, but he did.
Now, it was not only the sciences, mathematics used to be in here too. It was on the second floor, which is where now nursing is.
And when Dave and I worked on the 1972 Key Yearbook, there was a dark room in the basement where I did a lot of the film processing and printing for the book.
Yeah. If you've not had a chance to take a look at the 72 Key, take that opportunity. The Office of Advancement has all of the yearbooks, including the 72 Key. Has a real nice history of the University of Dubuque too. Also complemented by Al Stratmeyer's Child of the Church book, where we got a lot of the historical information on the University of Dubuque. What is this? The new wing. So, in fact, this was one of the new portions of the building. It's named after Mary Clapety, which is Joe Clapety's mother. Joe is a 1968 graduate of the university, and also currently chairman of the Board of Trustees here on campus.
So in this addition, on the top floor is the nursing program. The sciences are on this area of the building, and in the new Linda Clapety addition is the Physician's Assistance Program, and to tell us more about that is Sandy Hockenberry.
Hello, we're here at Linda Clapety Hall, which houses the University of Dubuque Physician's Assistance Program. This building was constructed specifically for the PA program and houses labs, exam rooms, offices, and classrooms. Many of our graduates are practicing medicine and providing care throughout the country, from South Dakota to Louisiana. And this is what makes our program so successful at the University of Dubuque, preparing our students for successful careers serving the church and the world.
So I'm standing right now where Stefan's Hall used to be. We have talked about numerous architectural features representative of the original Stefan's Hall. Charles and Ramona Myers Center comes to mind, where the architecture on the outside of that building is very reflective of Stefan's Hall. Started in 1906 building Stefan's Hall, and in 1907, behind me, Alumni Hall, or the chapter, was added to those plans. Cornelius Steffens was quite a fundraiser, so he was instrumental in gaining the funds for Stefan's Hall. In 1981, the decision was made to take down Stefan's Hall. For many of us, Stefan's Hall was the main building for us. It had dorm rooms, as well as almost any administrative function was contained in that building. In fact, in 1907, it was known as the administration building, or the main building, because it was quite honestly the only building on campus. It was renamed Stefan's Hall in honor of Cornelius Steffens, and we've talked already about Severance Hall and his fundraising with that. He was instrumental with Frank Peters in getting Peters Commons built. So Cornelius Steffens was very well thought of, and he was president of the school from 1908 until 1924. So in 1937, the main building, and there were more buildings by 1937, was renamed Stefan's Hall and remained so until it was taken down. So what I want to do is give you a vision of what the inside of Stefan's Hall looked like. And Jan, you and I have some fond memories of Stefan's Hall. Jan, I believe you were in this building as a dorm room for a couple of years?
2 years, right.
2 years. I was never had a dorm room in here, but almost everything that you did was out of Stefan's Hall. So I'm standing approximately where the rotunda was. And for those of you that remember Stefan's Hall, the rotunda was a a large circular opening. Now originally when the building was built, you could look all the way up, all 4 stories, and there was a skylight at the top. But due to fire concerns, ultimately the skylight was closed off and you could only see 3 stories up. Until the early 1970s, you could have a dorm room on the 3rd floor or the 4th floor. But then due to fire concerns in the early 70s, the 4th floor was closed off and was not used for any university functions. Now, on the 1st floor, there was a staircase off in this direction, and there was a walkway. There was 4 different directions you could go. The main entrance behind me. There was to the west and the east and the south. And if you went to the south, you would walk directly back to Old Chapel Hall or Alumni Hall. And there was a door that would that you could exit Stefan's Hall from there. But if you're standing right here, there was a huge staircase, a beautiful staircase that would go down to where all of the mail services were down there, and there were also classrooms down there. And if you also look to the west from the 1st floor, that's where the business office was. There was a lounge, and behind me, and we'll talk further about this when we get to the library, but the Underclass Library was located right behind me until 1967 when the Vicky Laird Library was completed, and it became the drama department's Ugly Duckling Theater. And if you went off to the east, that's where the registrar was, admissions, the dean of students, the dean of faculty. And so this facility, as many of you know, housed not only classrooms, they were dorm rooms, and all of the administrative functions were in this building.
Classrooms were on the 2nd floor.
Classrooms were on the 2nd floor, right, Jan? So the decision remains controversial today. It's sad that the building isn't here, but I think that in closing regarding Stefan's, I want to say that everything that I have seen done by this administration, say in the last 2 or 3 decades, probably 2 decades in particular, is done with renovating the buildings that we have and recognizing our heritage with architecture, specifically Stefan's Hall. Vanvleet, which we'll talk about shortly, is being renovated. Severance, as I mentioned, is going to be renovated probably in 2022. Atrothen is receiving a new facelift. The Science Center, Peters Commons, the gymnasium, many of those buildings we haven't covered yet, but we will shortly, have all either been expanded or renovated. So anyway, what happened after Stefan's was gone? Well, the university had in 1981 an offer of $1.3 million to build a new building on this site. So after Stefan's was raised, the Blades Hall was constructed, named after the Blades family. It has a chapel reception area, also has classrooms in there, and it also has the Jeffrey B. Dodge Center for those people that have been in the service. And this center is designed to transition those people that enroll at the University of Dubuque from military life to civilian life and student life. So it's an impressive facility. It was dedicated in 2015. So as you're on campus and as you look at the courtyard we're in, even this courtyard back in 1982 is reflective of some of the original buildings. If you go back into the archives or you go and look at some of the university key yearbooks and you look at the front of the building, you'll notice that these arches were on either side of the main entrance. So that was retained out of the original building. So this is a very relaxing courtyard where Stefan's was. And certainly the university has built upon the heritage and its other buildings on campus.
Well, right now we're walking towards the quad. Originally, there were elm trees planted here that canopied the quadrangle when I was a student. In the late 1960s, all the elm trees started to succumb to Dutch elm disease and were subsequently cut down. As a way of replanting, they put in ash trees and pear trees at the time, which did flourish for years up until very recently when they started to have problems with the emerald ash borer, which killed the trees, and also the disease of the pear trees. Subsequently, all the trees were taken out, and now they have been replanted. Obviously, a different variety of tree that's hardier and won't have the problems hopefully will succumb to disease in the coming years. This is now called Alumni Common. There was the lobby bell tower used to be here as the center of the quad. The bells were moved, and we'll see that a little bit later. And this is now a seating area where students can sit and read or just relax. Well, right now I'm standing in front of Vanvleet Hall. This building was originally constructed in 1926 to house the seminary, which it did until 1969 when the seminary moved off campus. As we learned on other tours that we did, there was actually a dormitory on the top floor where seminary students were living. This later became, after the seminary moved out, became faculty offices, administration offices, and it continued in that capacity until very recently. Right now there is a renovation going on, including all new wiring, plumbing, and new windows in the building and asbestos abatement. And this being one of the buildings that I remember being on campus, it's nice to see that they're preserving it, and it's going to be a building that will be useful for the foreseeable future with all the new renovations that are taking place.
Jan and I are standing on the balcony of Mccormick Gymnasium. When I was in school, I never really could understand why there was a balcony, because all of the sporting events, the basketball games, were all the opposite direction. Why would you ever sit up here? Well, the answer is simple, and that is that there was an expansion in the mid-1960s of Mccormick Gymnasium. And prior to this expansion, if you look out over the gymnasium and you see that first beam where the speaker is up there, that's where the end of McCormick Gymnasium was. So if you wanted to see a basketball game or a wrestling match, this was the balcony you had to be in order to see it. So a significant change to McCormick Gymnasium, and then the bleachers, which have always been here since that expansion. No one really came up here to view any sporting events after that expansion.
This is where we used to plug in our equipment for remote broadcast on the campus radio station, WGVU, to do the games. It's still here.
Yeah, I mean, if you couldn't attend a game,
right,
you could listen to it on the radio.
Listen to it in your dorm.
As long as you were on campus.
Right, as long as you're on campus. Well, right now I'm standing in front of the Charles C. Myers Library, which was actually built of 3 different sections. The farthest one to my right originally was the Seminary Library, built in 1955. This replaced the Urbach Library that was at Vanvleet Hall. Later on, it became a part of the Fickey Laird Library, which is directly behind me. This was named after Herman Stiles Fickey, who was professor of history at University of Dubuque for many years. A student of his from the class of 1919, Donald Laird, gave money, significant amount of money, to build this library in 1967. And the newest addition to the library is the Charles C. Myers Library. This was an addition put on in 2003 and updated later on.
Hey, Jan and I are standing in front of Smith Hall. Smith Hall was completed in 1956. It was originally built as a seminary men's dormitory. It was named after Wilbur L. Smith, an eminent cattleman in the state of Iowa, and his wife did significant fundraising, as well as the Presbyterian Church contributed toward the completion of Smith Hall. In 1969, when the seminary moved to Aquinas Institute, it became an underclass honors dormitory. And from 69 to 70, it was an honors dormitory, assuming that was the case. I don't really know. But in 1970-71, I moved into this dorm, so it definitely was no longer considered an honors dormitory. Now, when you look at the exterior here, my room for my sophomore year was through those windows. And Jan, I believe yours was right there, right?
Mine was right here, my sophomore year.
And then my senior year, Jan, you were in here 1 year?
1969, 1970.
Okay, and then he moved to Stefan's Hall, the 3rd floor. We're gonna go into Smith Hall. We're gonna show you a few things that are still intact from years and years ago. The first thing we're gonna show you is our entrance door. You'll notice a plaque about Wilbur Smith as a residence hall. This door is original to the facility. So we're going to go in. And this is where our dorm rooms were at one time, but right now it's the business office, and it has been for a number of years. So I had in my sophomore year this particular room. In my junior year, I had a room right here, and Jan was in here just before I moved in.
Right.
Now there is one room here that is unique to this particular facility, and that is the room behind me, and that was the head residence room. And the reason it's unique is because it's the only room that has a bathroom. So we're going to go in. We have some worker bees here.
Hello, how are you?
Say hello to the camera.
Hi.
How are you?
From the business office. And I tell you, when you are a student, one of the things that is coveted is a bathroom. And not only was it a bathroom, it had a bathtub and a shower. And in the absence of that, you had to walk down the hall. So this was a significant reason to become the head resident. And if I had seen this bathroom when I was on campus, I think I would have done everything I could to become a head resident. This is one of the dorm rooms, or was dorm rooms. This is almost identical. Yeah. The only thing that was different is it wasn't painted. It was just bare wood. And there was a mirror right in this section right here. And obviously they put in new countertops, but these drawers are original from when it was installed in 1956. The only other change here is it was tile floors. They weren't carpeted floors. So as we step out of this room, this really dates us for Jan and I to talk about this, but you may recall a room like this. This room was where the phone was. Until 1972-3, no one had phones in the rooms. AT&T had not wired the facility for phones. So what happened is if someone was calling you, whoever was closest to the phone would run into that room, pick up the phone, find out who it was for, come out of the room and yell down the hallway to see if that person was here. So obviously a lot has changed since those days. I'm going into where the washroom facilities, now this was a men's dormitory, so there were no women's facilities here. But one thing to pay attention to, that this is their stationery or storage room. This is where our shower facility was. And if you come in here, you can still see there was the shower head for soap, for turning the water hot and cold on. So, and you can see the floor is indented here, and that's so that and actually pitched so that it would go to the drain, so that it didn't overflow. Of course, I must say that I think there were some instances where the drain was purposely plugged, and things did overflow a bit. So this was Smith Hall. And it's nice to see that there's so much of Smith Hall that hasn't changed from the way that it was when we were here, or that we can still see the way that it looked when we were on campus. We're standing in front of Cassette Hall and Dinnell Hall. Both of these buildings were built in the 1960s. Specifically, Cassette was completed in 1966, and as it was known by its government project number, Originally, Dinnell was known as ADD. So it was renamed later on, Cassette, after David Cassette and A. Douglas Dinnell. Both of these individuals were long-serving Board of Trustees members, and both of these buildings were built as men's dormitories, most notably for freshmen and sophomores. So we're going to have an opportunity to go in. Now, this is a unique opportunity for Jan and I. Neither of us have been into either of these buildings since the 1970s, predominantly because out of concerns for student privacy, we weren't allowed to bring any tours into either one of these facilities. But right now there are no students on campus, so we can go in and take a look at these particular dorms. So come on, Jan, let's go in and take a look at one of them. So we've entered Dinnell Hall. We're on the first floor. The lounge, one of the lounges has always been here. Jan, you say a lounge was in the center of the building at Cassette. May have been the case there. Head resident had their facility or their room right in there. And I suspect they had their own bathroom too. As we walk down the hallway, in the middle of the building was showers, bathroom facilities. And we're going to go to a room which is dramatically different than when I was on campus. These rooms are relatively small, and obviously always have been. Originally the desks were built in right here, a desk on either side, and there was dressers on the hallway wall, and then there was beds on either side with a small area. These beds pulled out, so by day it was a couch, and by night it was a bed on both sides. And this was the room that was available for freshmen in particular for many years. And as I say,
There were always doubles.
always doubles.
Yep.
Always doubles. Jan?
Yeah,
On this corner right over here, on the corner of the new Heritage Center, was the president's house.
Right.
The white clapboard building with the garage, two-car garage on the other side. And as we said earlier, there was just single-family homes all around between this street and the street up by the library.
Yeah, occupied by various professors.
Yeah.
So in 2013, they built the Heritage Center, and this is a facility that is really state-of-the-art for the university.
We're in the Heritage Center, and this is a magnificent facility. I believe you said it was 2013, is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Quite the step up from what we were used to as students when we had the Ugly Duckling Theater in
geez.
Stefan's.
Yeah, the Ugly Duckling Theater was accommodated maybe 30 people.
That's about it.
I mean, we're walking into an auditorium that can seat hundreds, I would guess. There's a balcony, as well as this main level.
Yep.
And geez, I remember the facilities we had were Mccormick Gymnasium. That was predominantly what it was. I remember I saw Earl Scruggs in the Earl Scruggs Review. We also saw Mac Davis, but nothing in a facility like this.
No.
Folks may have read about the new organ. John and Alice Butler paid for the installation of this new organ. It was just completed, I believe, this year, 2021. Just a beautiful organ, and there's been a number of organ recitals since the installation of that. So boy, it sure would have been nice if we had had a facility like this, Jan, when we were on campus.
Yeah. All right now we're walking down University Park Drive. This leads to facilities that were never here when we were students, Dave, right?
No,
This was
not
just
at
a
all.
field.
When we were here, you probably remember there was a little path, very narrow. And if you wanted to get out from under student life and back into shopping, you had to go down to Kmart.
Right.
You walk down this field. Usually, I might add that it was about 20 below zero when we did this.
Yeah.
You walked down to the Kmart, and that was the big thrill for shopping.
Absolutely.
Back then. But none of this was here, Jan.
Right. This was just a field.
Yeah.
So right now we're at the southernmost end of the campus, right next to the Conlon Colonnade. And as you can see, this the architecture represents the architecture of Stefan's Hall. And this is the welcoming part of the campus from Highway 20, the first thing that most visitors will see when they first come in.
Hey Jan, I think you've noticed, I sure have, and I asked Katie Kraus, the Director of Alumni Engagement, what this was all about. And since 2004, every graduate, no matter the program they're in, gets a brick with what they graduated in, their concentration, and the year that they graduated. And so far it goes from Highway 20, around the colonnade, and it's heading up to University Avenue. So this is going to continue for years. And I don't know about you, but coming back to campus, showing kids or grandkids when you graduated and show them a brick is pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a great idea the university had. So that concludes our tour of the campus. Jan and I have been doing tours here on campus since 2016. This is the first video tour that we've done of campus, but we hope you've enjoyed your time sitting in a chair, relaxing, and seeing the University of Dubuque campus. I think you'll agree with us. The campus is absolutely beautiful.
So next time you're in Dubuque, make sure you stop by campus and also stop in the offices of Advancement and Alumni Engagement.
So we hope that you can make the next homecoming if you're not already here viewing this video. So we look forward to seeing you next year for homecoming, and we will certainly add some interesting tidbits to the tours next year and subsequent years.
We always learn something new.